Do not be thinking that this is for kids, because it's not. I mean, if you want to let your kids watch this, that's fine, but I'm probably going to cuss in it, and there's probably going to be a lot of heavy topics in these videos. Just because there's a teddy bear present does not mean it is for kids. That's just how I roll. Hi guys, welcome back to the weird side of YouTube. I'm your host, author DC Knipe, and this is Teddy Bear Talks. Now I know it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, and you might not know how they have changed. I have announced it on this channel, but if you haven't seen that, I will go ahead and explain. When I first started this YouTube series, it was meant to be a kind of commentary series about things that I found on the internet, and Theodore here had a voice so that he could chime in. But I didn't really like where that was going. I wasn't enjoying editing, and I figured that if I don't like even editing my videos, you guys are probably not going to enjoy watching them. But personally, I don't really like internet commentary videos. The ones that I do like are really intricate and very well made, like ContraPoint's videos and Lindsay Ellis's videos. But I don't have the wherewithal or the finances to fund such videos, so as of now, Teddy Bear Talks is going to be a series about me talking about hard things that I've been through and hard things that I've had to go through and things that I've had to learn and unlearn, and just personal anecdotes about me personally, with a preference on the harder things that I've experienced in life, so that I can probably help someone that is going through something similar. And Theodore is going to be here for emotional support. So, with that out of the way, welcome to the first Teddy Bear Talks in its current form. I am your host, author DC Knipe, and this is Theodore Stuffingsworth, your co-host. So today's episode is going to be about things that I've had to unlearn over the years. I am 32 years old, and I was raised in a heavily Christian Southern family. So there's lots of things I've had to learn, and there's still things that I'm currently unlearning. I think the most important part about being an adult is admitting to yourself that you're wrong, because none of us know what is right and what is wrong. What is right and wrong are just shit that we've made up along the way. So I just think that it's really important to hold yourself accountable and change your opinion on things when presented with new evidence. But let's get started. So I have a list of things that I would like to talk about. Let's start with number 1. And I have mentioned this on this channel before. I think it was in my CD collection video. I really wanted to talk about this in further detail. When I was little, I was madly in love with Britney Spears. I had posters of her all over my walls. I was in love with her image of the girl next door. She reminded me a little bit of my big sister. She just seemed like the girl you rode bikes with around the neighborhood, the girl you hung out with, the girl that babysat you. She was just very wholesome and normal and, what's the word I'm looking for? Teenager-y, I guess. Just innocent, maybe. But my mom hated her. And when Oops, I Did It Again came out, my mom was... she's not that innocent, because the song says I'm not that innocent. My mom would be like, she's not! But I didn't care. I would still get down on the floor and kiss the TV screen where she was, because we had a giant box TV that sat on the floor, the 90s. I was in love with her, and her first album was everything to me. I listened to it going to bed. I listened to it playing video games. I just did not have it turned off at any time for about 2 years until her second one came out. And then I still loved that one, but I loved it a little bit less than the first one. And then her third one came out, and Slave for You was the first song she released for that, and It was very weird for me. I was like 12 at the time, I think, and it was just really different energy, different vibes from what I was used to. And not that I didn't like her second album, but her first album was what I really wanted her to go back to. I liked the bubblegum pop stuff because I was a kid. Obviously, I was going to like it more. But, I don't know. It just made me feel really uncomfortable. And, then In the Zone came out, and by that time, I was already battling with, like, my own sexuality. And it was just making me really uncomfortable to see Britney, expressing her sexuality in such a way. You'd think that I would be all about it, because I knew secretly that I was gay at this point, and she was kissing Madonna on screen at the VMAs, but it really just backfired on me completely and made me regress even further, because I was listening to my mom, and my mom was like, I told you she was a slut, I told you she was a hussy, blah 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 blah, and it was just lots of conditioning coming back to me from, like, religious childhood Sunday school kind of shit. In the Zone was the last album I bought from her, because I was really hoping that there was going to be some kind of semblance of that first album on it. And it really just kind of upset me, because this wasn't the Britney that I knew and loved. It just rubbed me the wrong way, probably because of my own personal stuff. It definitely had nothing to do with Britney herself. It was just what I was going through in a religiously dominated household. So I think seeing someone express their sexuality with such freedom really kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because I didn't even want my sexuality. I was praying every night and crying that God would take it away from me. What I had to unlearn, and I'm still unlearning this at the time, I'm just now buying the rest of Britney's albums after In the Zone. I just bought Circus and Femme Fatale, and I plan on buying all of them, because I'm still in love with her voice and I'm still in love with her as a person. And what I had to unlearn about her is that people can have different sides to them. You can have an innocent side, and you can have a sexual side. You can have a badass attitude rocker chick side, and you can have the sweet little girl next door side. You don't have to pick just one. And I think everyone in existence probably has all of these sides that I'm mentioning. So it took me a while to realize that just because she was performing in such a provocative sexual way, it did not mean that that was all of her. She was just showing a new side of herself. And it took me a while to realize that just because she is showing that side of herself doesn't make her, a bad person. And I know that sounds like obviously it doesn't to a lot of you, but again, I was raised in a very conservative Christian family, and I was convinced that I was a bad person because I was gay. So it was hard for me. But I love her, and I am very much a fan of hers still. My favorite song by her currently is probably Swimming in the Stars, and it is the most beautiful, ethereal song I've ever heard in my life, and I'm so happy that she released it. I'm still not huge on the overly sexual songs. Like, Hold It Against Me just seems silly to me, but it's a fun song to dance to, but lyrically it's very silly. The only really sexual song that I really, really like is 3. And that's probably because I've been in triads before, and, I don't know, I just kind of like the vibe of it. But Slave for You was never big for me. It's still not big for me. I don't know. Maybe it's just personal taste. I like sexual songs when they're, like, not in your face about it. Like, Touch of My Hand from In This Zone, I've always loved. Maybe that's still something that I need to work on, because it sounds like I'm still, like, regressed a little bit. Like, I'm still, retreating. Like, I prefer the songs that are, like, more vague than the ones that are, like, actually in your face and you can't mistake it. So maybe that's something I also need to work on. With myself, obviously, not just liking the songs. But I hope you get what I'm saying. The next thing I wanted to talk about was depression, and I have written down here, depression doesn't mean being sad all the time. I can make myself happy, even when I have depression. I can force myself to get up and do the things I enjoy. I can smile, I can laugh. Even on bad days, I can always do something for me, even if it's just watching funny YouTube videos or taking a bubble bath, and that is self-care to me. Obviously, some days I'm going to try to do that, and it's not going to work. Some days you just have to crawl in a fetal position on your bed and cry it out. But for the most part, sitting outside on the swing of the sun does wonders for me. Forcing myself to play a game when I really don't want to usually sucks me into it, and I enjoy it. Same way with reading a book. I do have depression, by the way, in case you can't tell what I'm talking about. Yeah, I understand when people are always like, I can't do that, I have depression, I can't really make plans, I have depression. But for me personally, I have to do that. I have to schedule things, otherwise I'm never going to do anything at all. And that works for me. I'm not saying that it's going to work for everybody. Everybody's different. It took me a really long time to realize that for me, I have to take the initiative in everything for myself. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to read. I'm not going to write. I'm not going to draw. I'm not going to make YouTube videos. I have to get up and force myself to do it. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. And I know that sounds really obvious because you can't do anything unless you get up and do it. But for a while, I would just be like, I'll do this later, I'll do this later, I'll do this later, and it never happens. That's what I'm saying. If I don't, in the middle of a depressive episode, mind you, if I don't get up and do something that I want to do, I'm going to stay in that depressive state for days. Literal days. It's just something that's always kind of been the case with me ever since I got diagnosed at like 16, 17. It's how I function. And it took me a really long time to unlearn what a lot of people preach, is that if you have depression, you're done. The only choice you have is to take medication and hope that it works, because a lot of times that it doesn't. I'm not downing medication. I've been on medication before and it worked wonders. I'm not currently, because I don't have health insurance and I literally can't afford it. But medication works for some people. Going outside and taking hikes in the sun work for other people. And for me, it's usually a combination of the two. If I did have the option to use medication right now, I would, just FYI. But hopefully with this new job, I'll get some health insurance going and I can actually, get on a good path with all of this. But for now, I can take it into my own hands and do what I can. Because if I don't do what I can, I'm not going to do anything. And that sounds silly and redundant, but in my head it makes sense. Hopefully, you guys get what I'm talking about. And if you have depression, you probably completely fucking get it. But to all you folks that are not neurodivergent, to all you folks that are neurotypical, I'm doing what I can to explain it to you. This next one is the next one says, the fairy tale relationship I want cannot possibly exist within the confines of basic human emotions, wants, and needs. And by that I mean, I'm a Disney kid. I grew up with Little Mermaid. If you know me, you know that I'm obsessed with Little Mermaid and every other Disney movie ever. I'm a romantic at heart. My goal in life as a teenager was literally just to find a boy to be with and fall in love after I came out of the closet. I literally just wanted a relationship. That's all I was focused on in high school. I know that's awful now. I know that's awful as a 32-year-old. And if I could go back and focus on my studies, fuck yes I would. Obviously, I would be in a completely different space than where I am now. I would have, the backing that I need to do what I want to do now, but I chose the harder path and now I gotta do the work for it. What I mean, essentially, is that what I wanted when I was young was this kind of epic love story where nothing else mattered but me and that one person and how we felt about each other and the fact that we were together. And I know when you're a teenager you kind of feel that way anyway, but for myself, because I was so obsessed with Disney and fairy tales, I think it was to a toxic level. Mind you, my first few boyfriends did abuse the shit out of me, so I'm not putting all the blame on myself. But I am putting the blame on myself because I stayed with them, because I believed that if I put up with it, they would grow up somewhere along the way and stop hurting me, stop cheating on me, stop yelling at me, which no one is going to change unless they want to. And I want everyone watching this, if you have the same issue I had, that fairy tale that you want is not going to happen when you're with someone that hurts you. No Prince Charming is ever going to yell at the princess. It's just, that's not how it works. That's not how the stories were written. Also, on the grand scale of things, life is a lot more broad than just you're gonna meet the first person that you fall in love with and you're gonna be together forever. That might happen sometimes, but people will be in a relationship, like a man will be in a relationship with a woman for 10 years and realize he's gay. A couple will be married for 20 years and all of a sudden realize they're polyamorous. People evolve, people change, and it's really difficult to be in a relationship and evolve next to each other, but not at the same rate. So it's really hard. It's really kind of selfish to expect someone to change over time at the same rate in the same way that you were changing. If you want to be together despite that, more power to you. I'm doing that with my fiance, but I know a lot of people would rather separate, go their own ways, find someone else, maybe not. But if you get into a relationship, these are things that I didn't know when I was a kid. And if someone told me, I didn't believe them, because I was also raised in a family where divorce is never an option. So it's just a lot of different things that go into a relationship, and I don't think, especially kids today, really understand how difficult and how much work a relationship is. When I was a kid, all I was focused on was the fairy tale, the feelings, the emotions. I didn't even know that work in a relationship existed. I thought it was supposed to be flawless and smooth and constant. I thought it was just supposed to be snuggles and kisses and gifts and sex and just constant showering of like emotions and love bombs. And that's not the case. Sometimes you're gonna be tired, you're not gonna even want to cuddle, you're gonna get aggravated with the other person. We're all human, and me expecting any guy that I was dating to be a Prince Charming was selfish and childish and just really all around kind of mean, because I was expecting them to be this godlike figure that's perfect all the time. Not that I'm excusing their abuse, mind you, but my pedestal that I had the idea of relationships on was too high for anyone to meet at that point. So I had to unlearn a lot when it came to relationships. The next one says, on this same note, it's impossible for people to worship anything, especially something as unimaginable and unfathomable as an almighty God. That might upset a lot of you, but I used to have, even when I was a kid, in the midst of learning about Jesus and telling everyone that I worship Jesus and blah blah blah, I love Jesus, singing in church, going to Sunday school, the whole thing was my life. Religion was my life because I was raised in it. I still, in the back of my head, didn't understand what to worship something meant. I couldn't imagine worshiping something, and I still can't. The idea of worshiping something, in my opinion, is so far out of our reach because of our basic human emotions that we can't even imagine what it would be like. Especially when you're worshiping something that is so vague and unfathomable and unimaginable as an almighty God. That's its whole other issue, because I'm not going to sit here and be like, God's not real. That's your own decision to make. But I do believe that a lot of us, everyone, none of us know how to worship anything, because the idea of worshiping something, in my opinion, is out of our human capabilities, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to think of the words as I'm going. It's not working very much. This next one says, God never hated me. My parents hated me, or at least a part of me, and used their God as an excuse for that. It took me a while to realize that. I felt like I was being punished because I never understood how to worship him, and I was way too afraid to ask how to worship something that I can't see, or how to even love something that I can't see, and how to just accept that someone created everything. It never made sense to me, is what I'm saying. But I was convinced that he was punishing me because of my lack of worshiping him, I guess. So he made me gay. And then he hated me for it. That's the whole thing that was spiraling around in my head from the time I was like 12 to 16. And my parents told me that God hated me. I just think that's their own religious trauma coming out. Hurt people, and I think religion hurts everyone. That's just my opinion. And I think the world would be a better place if religion didn't exist. Personally, if it makes you a better person and makes you happy and makes you want to help people, that's amazing. But when it's come to like organized religion in churches, the Crusades, homophobia in the Republican Party right now, transphobia, that's all destructive, and all of it needs to be put away, like every other childish thing. As I hold a teddy bear. The next one says, what I thought was God when I was a Christian and what I thought was magic when I was pagan was just me. I'm not saying it was all in my head, but I am saying it all came from me, not some distant star or a brilliant and colorful realm in the universe. I manifested things because I put my mind to them and worked for them. I felt Jesus in my heart because I was making myself happy. Yeah. I used to think that Goddess Isis was talking to me through music. I used to think all kinds of things, but it would trigger this like emotional response in me, and I thought that emotional response was like her. I can trigger that response in myself with any song that I listen to, just because I'm sensitive and I'm very emotional. I trigger that emotional response when I watch a Disney movie and cry. It's literally just all me. It's nothing supernatural. And I had to face that after I lost my religion with paganism. I'm going to make a video all about losing my religion, don't worry. This next one says, you don't need religion or spirituality to be happy. I'm happier now than I ever was as a Christian or a pagan. That's pretty self-explanatory. But I was literally afraid that my depression was going to spiral out of control after I lost both my religions. And, in fact, the opposite kind of happened. I found more control in my life. This next one said, just because someone goes to church doesn't mean they're a good person. Obviously. Realizing that my parents were kind of bad people kind of hurt me. But, I've grown to accept that they're just the way they are because they were taught it, and they think that it's right, and they really honestly don't know any better. So, I've kind of accepted. This next one said, there is no good versus evil in real life. We're all just people fumbling through life, fucking up, making mistakes, and hurting people along the way. Sometimes we realize it and do what we can to make it better. Sometimes we have no idea. And sometimes we enjoy hurting others, if we think they deserve it. But the truth is, none of us deserve it, and all of us deserve it. We're all the villain in someone else's story. What matters is how we feel about ourselves. This next one says, what people think about me is none of my business or my concern. Some people will have a 2-minute conversation with you and then cast you off as bad or dumb, and that's on them. No one should have to feel responsible for how everyone looks at them, especially when those people are willingly blinded by their own overly inflated egos. Obviously, first impressions are important, and if you want someone to see a certain side of yourself, you need to take the initiative to show that side of yourself. But what I'm talking about here, specifically, was an instance when I was in my abusive triad when I lived in Salem, and the high priest that was really fucking mean to me refused to see me as a good person. I would donate some of my money to like charities. I would help during temple services. I did everything I could. I was taking classes. I was doing everything I could to impress him and show him that I was trying to learn witchcraft, and all he wanted to do was call me an idiot and tell me that ISIS hated me. So there are some people out there that no matter what you do are going to hate you. You can give them gifts, you can literally love them, and they will still hate you. This next one says, no one I hurt is lying up at night thinking about how badly I hurt them 10, 20 years ago. That's just me because I have trouble forgiving myself. And it took me so long to realize this. I used to be up at night wondering, the people that I hurt, are they still hurt? Are they still hurting? Or do they still hate me? Do they talk shit about me now? Do they still think that I'm that horrible fucking person that thinks that what I did was right? Because I'm not. Or I wouldn't be thinking about this. I wouldn't be beating myself up over something I did 10, 20 years ago. Because it's hard for me to forgive myself. Even though I know I was a kid and I didn't know any better. These are people that I used to care about. People that I called friends or boyfriends or girlfriends. And all of them I ended up hurting in some way or another. And I still feel so bad about every one of them. And I'm trying to learn to forgive myself. The next one says, friends, lovers, and family can all betray you. No bond is unbreakable. This next one says, and it's probably going to need some explaining, you can't be middle of the road when it comes to things like racism. And to a lot of you, that's going to be like an obvious moment again. But again, I was raised in a very conservative Southern household, in a very conservative Southern small town, where it was not only normal to be racist, it was rewarded. The teachers were racist, the church people were racist, my parents were racist, but there were two different kinds of racism. There was the I hate N-words racists that would call black people N-words to their face, which were all over the town, and then there were my parents kind of racists, which were very much middle of the road. My mom would brag about how she disobeyed her parents to hang out with a little black girl and make friends with her. Because her parents were so racist and didn't want her to hang out with black kids. But the next day she would threaten to kill me if I brought a black girl home and introduced her as my girlfriend. So, very wishy-washy kind of racism where they would think that they were so very much anti-racist because they made friends with a black girl 20 years ago, but they would also say the most horrible, disgusting things behind, like, not to black people's faces, but like in their family, and think that it's okay. So, yes, I have called my parents out for this after I've unlearned this, but hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying. I was raised very middle of the road when it came to racism, and my parents thought that they were raising me to be anti-racist, but they never seem to understand that saying something racist behind closed doors to your white friends and family is just as bad as saying something racist to a black person, because it's still in you. That darkness is still in you if you think it behind closed doors, or if you think it in your head, just as much as it is with Bobby Joe down the road screaming at a black person calling her an N-word. It's the same. It's still in you, you're just not showing it to anybody. So, there was a lot of things I had to unlearn when it came to that, and thankfully I think I'm on the right path. This next one might upset a few people. Calling yourself a feminist doesn't mean anything anymore. Words are hollow, it's your actions that matter, and I say that for a number of reasons. I used to call myself a feminist, and I got cussed out by female feminists, telling me that that's their word, I can't take it because I'm a man and I don't know their struggle, which granted is true. Another reason I don't call myself a feminist anymore is because there are so many feminists I see online that call themselves feminists, that talk about feminism, that literally want all men to die, and are literally transphobic and homophobic. So, I don't think any of that is feminism. But at the same time, because of things like that, it's not enough to call yourself a feminist. You have to do something. You have to show people who you are, not just tell them who you are. Especially in today's climate. With people like J.K. Rowling still calling themselves feminists, but doing blatantly transphobic things, and blatantly hurting trans women, contradicts itself to some people, but to some people they think it's the epitome of feminism. So I just think that it's not good enough to call yourself a feminist anymore. I'm just saying. Another thing I've had to unlearn, which a lot of us have tried to unlearn probably, is that being mean is not flirting. Being mean is not flirting. When I was little, there was a little girl that used to bite the shit out of me in elementary school, and all the teachers were like, oh, she likes you, she's flirting with you, she wants to be your girlfriend, she doesn't like your girlfriend, because I had a girlfriend in elementary school, a girlfriend, but whatever. So, I don't know if I, like, internalized that and everything on, like, kids' media that says that if you're mean to someone, you like them. But I had this phase, and I'm still catching myself doing it, where I am really sarcastic and really mean and almost insultive to people if I like them. And it's very much, in my mind, flirty, but I have literally hurt people so bad doing this. And if it wasn't for them telling me that I hurt them, I would have never known. And I'm still trying to unlearn this actively, because I'm still catching myself trying to say something mean to my fiance, and in my head I'm thinking, this is flirty, this is banter, but it's literally an insult. I don't know, has anyone else caught themselves doing that, or is it just me? This next one says, my worth is not based on what I contribute to capitalism. My worth is not based on what I can do for a company that gives no shits about me. I need to stop feeling guilty over things that I can't help. And that's, I have back problems. And every job in the South that I've ever gotten expect me to lift heavy things by myself, like over like 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 200 pounds by myself, just because I have a dick. It's really fucking annoying. And then they brag about it, like the people, the owners brag about how, they have the girls up front because girls are pretty and they attract more customers, and they have the boys in the back because boys are strong and they can take care of things like that. And hearing someone say that to you after you've been through so much shit of like gender identity and being gay and all this stuff, it just really makes you feel like you've traveled back in time to like the 1950s. There are still people in the South, I live in North Carolina, that believe shit like that. And it's literally infuriating. But when they ask me to do stuff, like, I'll lift anything if I have someone to help me. But usually they want me to do it alone just because I'm a man. And I have to explain to them, I have back problems. Even if I didn't have back problems, it's your company's rules to have two people lift something that's heavy. And on top of that, I don't fucking want to. I don't fucking want to lift this giant heavy ass thing by myself and risk myself getting hurt because of you. For you. What do I get out of it? I'm getting paid like minimum wage an hour. That's not worth hurting myself. Not for you, not for anybody. I'm sorry. And it took me a really long time to get to that. I used to really be upset about the fact that I couldn't do more, that I couldn't help more, but no, fuck that. If I can't do something, I can't fucking do it. This next one says, my tears mean nothing to anyone. Having emotions, empathy, and sympathy don't make me a good person. My actions do. I used to really get offended when people wouldn't see me as a good person. And I would always be like, I cry at Disney movies. I have a lot of emotion. I feel a lot for a lot of different people. And it took me a while to realize that anyone can say that. What I need to do is show people if I want them to see that side of me. I need to show them. And the last one is, I need to start using more inclusive language and referring to men as men instead of boys and women as women instead of girls. This came about during my guild meeting. One of the trans women that's in my guild prefers everyone to use the word folks, F-A-F-O-L-X, instead of guys. And if you watch my YouTube videos, I say guys all the time, so it's really hard for me not to say guys. And it doesn't matter if the person saying guys doesn't think that it's a gendered term. When it falls on the ears of someone who does think that it's gendered, it really hurts them. So I'm trying my best to start saying folks or y'all instead of guys, but it's hard. And calling men boys and women girls has been a problem for me for decades. I still call myself a boy even though I'm 32 years old. I call my grandma kid. Like, I don't know what it is with me. I'm just infantilizing everyone. Maybe it's because I want to be young. I don't know. But that's all for this episode of Teddy Bear Talks. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully it's a good little introductory video for what the rest of Teddy Bear Talks is going to be. A lot of them are going to be more scripted. I have plans for a coming out video about my coming out story during Pride Month. I also very much want to make a video about losing my religions, both Christianity and paganism. So that's going to be scripted as well. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to all of that. Please subscribe for Theodore. He'll appreciate it. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.